Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Tuesday. It is 4 p.m. ET, and we are so thrilled that you have found us here on Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. I'm your host, Hank Phillippi Ryan, the USA Today bestselling author of 15 going on 16 novels of suspense. My current book is One Wrong Word, which you know that. It's on the door behind me, but let me just show you my new book, which comes out in September. The cover was just revealed in People magazine this week. So how great is that? Here is the awesome cover of All This Could Be Yours. I mean, you have to love that, which comes out next September. And I'm very, very thrilled about that. But let me put that away and show you what we really care about today is this book. Look at the cover of that, you all. That is fantastic. Strike and Burn by Taylor Hutton. Now you are saying, wait, Taylor Hutton is one person, but I am seeing two people on the screen. Yes, indeed. Yes, Randy says, love dual author thrillers. We have Adele Griffin and Julie Buxbaum who are here, who have created this new identity as Taylor Hutton. And you can believe that we will, is it named after movie stars? How did you do that?
The Taylor Hutton? Oh, we wanted a name that was sort of very separate from the two of us because this book sort of feels like it's not 1 and 1 equals 2, it's 1 and 1 equals 3. Taylor Hutton is someone totally fundamentally different than the two of us. And we did borrow Taylor from Taylor Swift.
Oh, Taylor Swift. See, this shows my age. I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is Elizabeth Taylor and Lauren Hutton.
So definitely Lauren Hutton. It was sort of Lauren Hutton meets Taylor Swift.
We were AJ Windsor for a minute and a half,
Yep.
but with Adele, Julie, and Windsor was the street I lived on. But then we thought we wanted it to just not feel like anything of us because it gave us more freedom to think about this third author that we were conjuring.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. And I wonder, remind me to ask you later whether doing that, made you feel more free about writing this book because it wasn't really you, it's really somebody else who you're channeling. Ooh, I can't wait to hear about that. That is great. Meanwhile, happy Pub Day for Strike and Burn. Are you all doing anything special for Pub Day?
We are spending the day together doing all sorts of promo stuff. And then tonight we have our big launch event we're neighbors. And so we're going to go to our neighborhood local bookstore.
Chevaliers.
Yep, in Larchmont, Los Angeles. And we're going to celebrate our launch. We have cupcakes and all sorts of fun stuff.
It is. I hope you can celebrate. Are you okay? Has everything been okay? Have you been smoke and fire? And you have had such a hard time.
Yeah, it has not been the greatest month. And it's definitely not the greatest month to promote a book called Strike and Burn by her on the cover in Los Angeles. But it is our book is dedicated to a very close friend of ours, Sarah Milnowski, who actually lost her house in the fire. And the dedication is a fire pun, which of course we wrote,
our favorite matchmaker.
We call her our favorite matchmaker, which of course we did 6 months ago, not knowing that we were going to be in this situation. Fortunately, she has a great sense of humor and actually thinks it's hilarious.
Well, you have to have a great sense of humor. That is really the only way to deal with it. And it does sort of let you know that you can plan and the universe has other ideas. And, we're all human beings and all we can do is just go for it and embrace it and sort of have a happy pub day and a happy book. I mean, the cover is amazing. The title is amazing. It's all very meaningful and all very riveting. And we'll talk about that. So we will just focus on the joy at this point. Well, speaking of focusing on the joy, when I look over here, I'm looking at the comments and so many people are here. Sue Street is here and Sherry Steuben is here and Randy is here and Renee Herskowitz is here. This is so great. Susie Baldwin, Vicki Gregory, Betty Fellows, Christine Atkinson is here. I'm going to miss you. I know I'm going to miss some of you. Sharon Bishop. It is so marvelous to have you all here today. And you're getting lots of applause for your pub day. You were talking about having a launch at the bookstore. Is this a bookstore that you've gone to for a long time? Is this your favorite spot? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I am new to Los Angeles. I'm only 3 years old here. I'm from Brooklyn. And when I moved here to Larchmont, Sarah, our matchmaker, introduced me to Julie. And she said, you'll love each other. You're both writers. This is going to be, a wonderful match made in heaven, and it really was. And included in all of the things that were so wonderful about Julie, she figured out how to find a dentist for my kids, pediatricians, all the things that I needed. In addition to that, we became writers together and started the project, and we actually lived walking distance with Chevalier's, our local bookstore, kind of in a midpoint.
Right, yeah, the midpoint.
Yeah.
We're still in walking distance. Chevalier's is no longer the midpoint, but it is still walking distance from both of us.
And it's just so interesting. I mean, we were talking about the universe earlier, and it is so interesting how the universe sort of provides a thing or a connection, and then something just works. And, it's kind of mysterious and kind of fabulous. I'm going to read your formal bio now. Oh, first, let me tell you, let me remind you all about what A Mighty Blaze on Crime Time is. If you are new to A Mighty Blaze, welcome, welcome, welcome. And I see some new faces here today, and I'm always happy about that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And if you are a veteran of Crime Time, if you are a blazer that we love, see, this is A Mighty Blaze also. So speaking of the fire metaphors, we just keep going with that.
We're just going to keep on going.
A Mighty Blaze was started at the beginning of the pandemic about 5 years ago, astonishingly so, by the powerhouse duo of Jenna Blum and Caroline Levitt, to keep us reading new books and discovering new authors and talking to our favorite authors and maybe finding some new favorite authors, which just might happen to you today, with Taylor Hutton, Adele, and Julie, and their new duet, Strike and Burn. It's all very two things. Let me read you their bio, which you will explicate a little bit after I read it for you. Taylor Hutton is the pseudonym of a pair of writer friends, Adele Griffin, wave Adele.
Hello.
Okay, just so you know, and Julie Buxbaum. Hey,
Hi.
Julie. One of whom has twice been a finalist for the National Book Award, Adele. Okay. See, this is good. You can help me with this. And the other is a New York Times bestselling author and Edgar Award finalist. That's quite a duo. That must have been quite the moment when you met. Between the two of them, they have written more than 40 books. When they are not passing their latest sexy thriller back and forth on Google Doc, they are browsing bookstores, sending each other ridiculous memes, walking their dogs, Trudy and Potato. Who has Trudy? And you have Potato. That's adorable. I love it. Around in Los Angeles neighborhood and making their children cringe with their TikTok videos. That sounds like a good life. That sounds like a good life. And let me remind you all of you who are arriving. Renee says, A Mighty Blaze. I missed that. Yeah, I know. We're not going there. One of you very lucky commenters will win a copy of Strike and Burn. Not this one. I'm keeping this one, but you will get your very own copy of Strike and Burn if we will spin the wheel of fun at the end of the show, and one of you will win. So all you have to do to enter to win is to leave a question or a comment or just general adulation, or tell us the name of your dog in the comments. Potato is really a good name. Nothing wrong with Trudy, but I've just never heard Potato. And you will win a copy of Strike and Burn. The rest of you know, I do too, Tori. The rest of you, you know what to do. Click, 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 run, 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 and get your copy of Strike and Burn. And we are going to hear all about that in a moment. And it is going to make you really want to go get it. So now I want you to talk. My time is over. Please, both of you, tell us about your book.
Okay, so our book is a seductive, dark romance about two broken people who
meet cute in the morgue.
They do meet cute in the morgue. Of all places, is Honor Stone, who has recently lost her twin sister, meets Shreg Madden, who is this enigmatic, very handsome anti-hero billionaire.
He invites her to work for him in his erotic animation studio as his lead artist.
Mm-hmm. And this book is chock full of everything. We have a messy spaghetti dinner, an antique knife collection, a bro book club,
a great big mansion.
Oh yes, a really handsome man who lives in a really big mansion, and a couple of dead bodies, of course. And combined, but it's ultimately really about two broken people and whether their finding each other is going to lead to healing, or if maybe they're going to burn the world down together.
Yeah, this book, you all, we're talking about Strike and Burn by Taylor Hutton, Julie and Adele's pseudonym. It is cinematic, it is fast-paced, it is immersive, and it's really kind of moving as well. It's a terrific mystery and a terrific story and a terrific thriller, but it's also very thought-provoking, I have to say, underneath that. It's really psychologically fascinating. I do want to start, though, with asking you about this meet cute in the morgue. Where did you come up with this? And I'm not sure I've ever seen a meet cute in the morgue scene.
Well, I mean, truthfully, the origins of this book are very strange. So we are both two career authors who've been doing this a very long time. And I think we were both feeling a post-pandemic midlife malaise. And I think, at least for me, I don't know if I can speak for Adele, but my work was starting to feel a lot more like work than it usually is. I mean, I love to write. It's my favorite thing in the world, but it was becoming a little more work-like than I liked. And I felt like I needed a hobby. And I think some people pick up pickleball, but Adele and I picked up writing a dark romance, which was very unexpected. We got together. We used to get together to write often, not to write a book together, but to write our own work. And one day we started talking about all the romance we'd been reading, all the dark romance, sort of the thriller dark romances, and what we loved about them. And somehow, I don't know how we came up with a meet cute in the morgue, but that's where the first seed started, like the challenge of writing a meet cute in the morgue and what would happen from there. And then we started going back and forth just as a game almost.
We had a Google Doc, and we are avid readers, and we kept adding to, I'd love a great big mysterious mansion. I love when you find out, I love a twin sister.
I love an anti-hero.
I love an anti-hero. I love sort of the feeling of that she jumps into his world, that loves family secrets.
It was all about like being in a playground together. Yeah. And so we had this rule when we were writing that we were not allowed to write for more than 1 hour a day. And we were only going to write if it was fun. And that was the idea was for this to be a project that we just loved doing. When we started, we had no intention of actually getting to hear, or had no idea that we'd actually get to hear. It was more, let's do this fun thing and see where it goes. And then we had 150 pages all of a sudden, very quickly.
Our background, we both have written a number of children's books and young adult. And I think our approach has always been sort of an interest in what's a curiosity for what's new and what's going on in a world that's always changing, because that is kind of being long in a career of kids books. You're really aware that your audience is always kind of getting older. So it kind of gives you a feeling of, let's rediscover something. You have to reinvent all the time in kids. And so this was the ultimate reinvention in some ways.
I mean, if you know us personally, or if you know either of our work, it is as far from this as possible to be. We've both written adult, we've both written middle grade and YA, and dark romance. And this dark romance is this like sort of romance with an edge thing is very far from what we know.
I was going to ask you about that. And Renee asked this question too. And it was the one that was going through my mind as well. When you went into it, did you think dark romance or did it grow into that? And also, just how would you describe what that is? What are comparable books that people might know?
We were both reading the Anna Huang.
Yeah, the Anna Huang Twisted series, which I think is a really good comp. We were reading a ton of dark romance, which
Verity.
Oh, Verity. Yeah.
So what does that mean? That it's not fluffy. It's not fluffy, lovey, cuddly romance.
There's usually a traumatic backstory for the main characters. But I think more than that, usually the romantic lead is an anti-hero who like sort of plays in a morally gray area. In our case, I don't want to give too much away, but we maybe have more than one anti-hero at the heart of the book. But that is sort of the ultimate definition of dark romance, where your leading man, generally, it's usually a man, sort of has some sort of background that makes him a little morally questionable, right?
Yes, and also that allows the main character female to have to take a risk of some kind and to sort of accept a passion of some kind and to sort of decide if she wants to change in some way, or who's going to change, or can anybody change, and will the whole thing just combust before there can be a happy ending. In a regular romance, one of the tenets is that there has to be a happy ending. In a dark romance, without giving anything away, in a dark romance, do you have different rules?
I think most dark romance also, because of the word romance in there, it has to have a happy ending. I mean, at least for me, I love, if you're going to read a romance and you're going to promise me a romance, I feel like there's a compact with the reader that you're going to deliver them a happily ever after with our characters together. I don't feel like that gives too much away.
No, and I think we were both very invested right from the jump in the romance.
I do think we were sort of writing slightly different than the typical dark romance. I think in the typical dark romance, there isn't any sort of feminist edge to it. The male main character is usually exceptionally possessive. And we wanted, especially because we were playing in this very strange erotic animation space, to put a feminist bent on the erotic animation. Because in general, in real life, erotic animation, it tends to be very misogynistic. And so we wanted to flip that on its head.
And those are sort of dark waters for you to stick a toe in, erotic animation. Did you have to learn about it? I don't want to go too far here. Did you already know about it?
Adele's a hentai expert. No, just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
You're going to get this pub day. You're going to get this question every place you go. So might as well deal with it.
We did have a sense in all of these things that were new and strange for us, of anchoring us to characters that we really loved. Mm-hmm. And I think for us to really feel comfortable with these characters, they had to have a romance that also felt comfortable for us. And that's why I think we really needed that feminist heroine.
Yeah,
I think so smart.
To actually answer your questions, I do feel like it sounds like we're dodging, and we're not. No, neither of us had any experience in that space whatsoever. But I think, again, with that space, as with the whole book, we entered it with such this open curiosity, which is what made writing the book so much fun. I mean, we have never had, at least I can say, I've never had more fun writing a book than writing this book.
Well, you don't have to go to Mars to write a book about Mars.
Right, exactly.
It's just a setting like anything else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? And you happen to choose this, and maybe Taylor Hutton is aware of that scene. I wonder about that. Do you think Taylor Hutton is a woman or a man, or does it matter?
We have a real identity. I mean, we always think she's a younger woman who has that curiosity. I think we created her because Taylor Hutton always wants to know what's on TikTok. Taylor Hutton's always reading. Taylor Hutton is immersed.
Taylor Hutton knows the memes in a way that we maybe do not. I do think this is a weird thing between Adele and I that we've always felt. We'll look at our book and look at a paragraph, and we'll have no idea who wrote it. In fact, we always point to the other, and then the other's like, "No, I didn't. You wrote that." And
Clearly
I think
Taylor wrote it.
But exactly. And I think at a certain point, it's like, oh no, this creation, somehow this mind meld created this new person who writes this very different book.
Yeah.
It's really fun roller coaster of a book.
It's so spectacular. And I'm going to talk about the book in a minute, I promise you all, because so many people are asking about Kathy Lanigan is here, and Betty Fellows is here, and Katie Crutchfield-Westland is here. It's so nice to see you all. And now I've totally forgotten what my question is going to be. When you're writing together, though, it's interesting that somehow the whole is more than the sum of the parts happens, and that your skill as writers allows you to be together and come up with a new voice, and a new style, and it's real. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, there was something. She certainly is a new voice and a new style. And I think it's Julie and I both really wanted to be, and I could feel this right from the beginning. We really wanted to be good citizens of the book. There is something in us that lived to please the other one
Yes.
in
Yeah.
whatever was coming back and forth. So, and you had said it yesterday, it was like you're writing to this audience of one. You're
I
writing
was
for
writing
that
for her.
burst of laughter. And I
Or
would
shock,
or
or discomfort even. I mean,
or interest or surprise or delight.
yeah.
I feel like we need to mention that this book is very steamy. So if steamy is not your thing, then this is not
Oh,
your
we
book.
will get to that. We will totally get to that. Yes.
Okay.
Warning, this book is very steamy.
Yes,
We
I feel like we
cover
should.
you all. What is that going to be? That's not going to be happily ever after. Too much. So you know what? This is a good time to talk a little bit about the two main characters, Honor and Strike. How did you name them? Where did they come from? Who came out? Who did you discover first? And how did you bring them together?
Truly, this feels like Taylor Hutton.
I know,
mean,
we need
her.
weird?
We need her here.
I wish we had Taylor Hutton who could answer these questions. I believe Strike came first, then Honor, but Honor's voice came before Strike's voice. So the character description of Strike, I think, came first, and then we created Honor. But originally, the book was only told from Honor's perspective.
That's right.
And then in a later draft, we added in Strike. So we've always, I think from the beginning, heard Honor more clearly in our heads. And it took writing the book to hear Strike and then feel like he was missing from the narrative.
Wow, that's interesting, because reading the book, it's so seamless that I can't even imagine, even as an author, I can't even imagine it being any other way, because it does work together so gorgeously. It is kind of steamy, if more than kind of steamy. Was that your intent from the beginning, or did it just sort of combust as you wrote it?
I think both.
We didn't shy away from any of it. I think we really had curiosity for all the things it could be. And then I think we landed in the places that we loved. Like, we were very interested in the backstory. We were really interested in the romance, more so even than the thriller aspect.
Yeah, I do think so. I think it's more, I do think this falls more in dark romance than in romantic thriller.
I mean, it's interesting because one of the things that makes your book relatable for a reader is that we're always asking, what would I do? How would I handle this? What would I say? What would I think? What would I know? Do you agree that that's what makes the book be sticky to readers, that you have to find out what someone does, and it's all about how we would deal with this conflict?
I think to a certain extent, I mean, one rule we did have, which sort of is the reverse of this, is we very much wanted this book to turn everything to 11. So with every single scene, we thought, okay, here's the first iteration of the scene. How do we turn this up for our reader? How do we make this more exciting, more dramatic, more painful sometimes, more sexy, whatever the scene was trying to do, we kept ratcheting it up and seeing how far we could go. And there were only a few times where we felt like we went too far and had to bring it back. But otherwise, the general rule of this roller coaster was there's no such thing as too far.
Which is sort of the tenet of the book as well. I mean, it's all very much of itself, that it's really pushing the limits of what someone might do. And I love a good Spinal Tap reference, so thank you. How the characters, talk about, they're morally gray, these characters. You know, there's not necessarily a good guy or a bad guy. Where the reader, and I know your readers are wise, the reader's going to have to assess how they feel about certain characters and certain actions. How top of mind was that to you, to make things be not black and white?
Very, I think, from the very beginning. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think that Julie and I share a real sensibility of where lines could be crossed and what didn't work for us in the world of this book.
And also where we wanted those lines to get crossed for the reader. Like, we were very conscious of slowly filtering out our information as opposed to starting with a deluge. We don't actually know who these people are to start, and then they slowly become more and more complex, which was the goal, I think.
Well, speaking of the slowly knowing, I mean, I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the story, just the plot, so we know where we are in it, and then talk a little bit about how you put yourself through that plot. Did you make an outline? You were talking about that you had a Google Doc that you added to an hour a day. When did you realize what the book was about, and then how did your writing change? So plot and process and theme.
Do you want to take it, or would you like me to take this one?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to disagree.
we know our answer.
I know where we
So-
are. But I would say that when we added in strike, I think that was a really interesting moment of understanding the pacing of this. I do remember feeling like we could have picked any one piece of this, the backstory or the shop. You know, there were so many places that could have been an 800-page book. But once we anchored him, I felt that we understood that was when the penny dropped for me in terms of tension.
Okay.
You know, that this was a dark romance, but we were layering in this. And I think things are very gradual for me anyway in drafts. There's a character draft.
Yes.
There's a backstory draft. And then there was suddenly him in the draft, you know, in a real way.
Adele, more than she's very comfortable if we have something happen in the book to be like, actually, what if we do it this completely other way and start over? Which always makes me very nervous. And then I'm like, oh, she's right.
Because you're like, we got this. We got all these words. We're not going to
these words. But I think we came to a point where we realized that we had to be real, especially because we were figuring it out as we went along, at least at first.
Yeah.
So the first 150 pages, we did not have an outline. We had an idea for a book and sort of started writing to each other to see. And then I would read where Adele went, and then I would go further that way. And then we'd switch. Like we just kept, riding this roller coaster together. And then at 150 pages, we sat down and we're like, are you in? Are we actually writing a book? Like we didn't know. I had never even read anything Adele had written before I sat down to write this, and vice versa.
Oh.
We were just really good friends. We have a lot of writer friends, so it's hard to keep up with everyone's work.
That's true.
But then when we were 150 pages in and we saw this sort of real reliability that we both have, I think we both show up. What you're saying, like we're stewards of the book. I think we saw that in each other. And at 150 pages, we're like, all right, let's meet and talk about, is this a book? Are you committed to doing this with me? And let's write an outline for the rest of the book. And that's when we actually had an outline to follow. We do have a companion novel that's coming out in a year called Axe and Grind. And in that book, we did start with an outline because we already knew what story to tell. It's sort of a different experience writing the second one. Just as much fun, though.
Just as much fun. I mean, I haven't felt more like the summer between 8th and 9th grade when I wrote a novel in longhand. It was such a wonderful reconnecting with an old self.
Mm-hmm.
But then
you have to tell us about that. Tell us about that.
I mean, I think there was just like a pure, delicious joyousness in writing this book. Like just delicious joy. It was just there's never been a moment in this entire process where this has felt like work to me.
It reminded me of why I wanted to be a writer.
Yep.
Really re-anchored, even though it was a genre we had never done.
So different from anything we ever did.
Collaborating usually, independent project, so many different things, and yet it connected to the oldest feeling.
It really actually felt like every day I got to meet Adele on the playground and we got to play.
So light.
And the joy does come. I loved looking at you talk to each other because you're just so respectful of each other and so affectionate for each other. And you clearly loved working on this. I mean, obviously, a project of the heart that turned into something more. Is that Potato or Trudy?
That's Trudy.
We need to remove
a project of the heart that morphed into something that you could never have predicted. Although Adele, when you were in 8th and 9th grade writing your novel in longhand, do you remember what that was? Do you still have it?
Yes, it was called When the River Meets the Stream. And I don't even think that can happen. Can a river meet a stream?
But it's so poetic.
And I illustrated it. And there was so much décolletage.
That's great.
There
So you were already writing body flipper even when you were...
Yes, it was my first dark romance.
Oh, that is so funny. I love that you talk about the stewardship, being a steward of the book, because that is, as I was just saying about, you respect each other and you respect the book. And you were saying that you don't want to do it if it's not fun. But when you're writing book 2, it's a different thing, isn't it? Now you have to write book 2 and you have your world and you have things that you can select from book 1, but not all of them. Oh, yes. And Margaret is reminding me, last chance to leave a question or name a dog, and you will be entered in to win the Wheel of Fun and to win your own very own copy of the Hot, Hot, Hot Strike and Burn, which you will absolutely love. Which I now have forgotten my question again. What was I asking you? Do you remember? Somebody tell me.
You're asking about the process for the second book and whether it felt directly different.
One of us is listening to me, and it's not me. But you have a world. Randy is saying this is a little bit of an insight into the conversation in a woman's locker room. No,
I love that. It is. It's true.
We'll never tell
it. In the locker room there for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, we really did have to write steamy scenes together, which were it was a lot of locker room talk.
Did you laugh?
Oh my God, we laughed so much.
There was nothing more fun to me than seeing a ping from Julie at like 1 a.m. and knowing that new things were coming in to read. So fun.
The idea that you, Adele, were excited to read. I mean, you couldn't wait to read it. You couldn't wait to read the book.
Couldn't wait. It was a drop everything and read. But I think we love to surprise each other a lot.
Even the second book I thought was just as much fun.
Honestly more fun.
Adele even enjoyed the second book more, I think, because
thank you for reining me back to the question, Julie. So the second book.
It's very funny. This is our dynamic generally. Adele goes off and I'm like the very practical, but Adele, here's a list of things to do. And Adele's like,
I love this. I think this is why it works so perfectly, obviously.
Goes to amazing places. So together we kind of balance each other out.
It's just, I keep thinking about how the serendipitousness of the universe to bring you two together. I mean, talk about combustion. The idea that you two just sparked from each other and created, this unique and wonderful thing, and that you're full of joy about it. What do you think about that?
When Sarah told me I had to meet Adele, she said to me, okay, Adele is really weird, and so are you, but you guys are weird in different ways, but in ways that are totally going to match each other. Like you're going to understand each other's weird.
Yes.
And I think about that all the time now because she was so right. We both are very weird. You wouldn't know it to talk to us, but we both have these sort of, I mean, read the book, you'll know. Yeah. I mean, there's no hiding behind this book. There's definitely a fair amount of weird in there. But it's a complimentary weird, and Sarah nailed it.
Yeah.
Like it's just been a really magic. Like I think that one of the best parts of this process is not only getting a book out of it, but getting like best friends. For real. Complimentary mugs. Look at us. We have matching mugs. The J and the A.
I'm going to take a screenshot of this later and post that. I'm really going to do that. And we're now time for the Q&A. I hope someone will ask what the plot of this book is, because we've completely gone away.
There is a very roller coaster plot. We never talked about the plot. Why don't we do that?
All right, let's talk about this plot.
Okay, you go.
Okay.
You're on.
Well, I think the whole idea of it is that each of them has a secret. And as they get closer, and they're really not supposed to get closer, they have to bear more vulnerability. And she's in danger.
Yes, she is in danger from the person who may or may not have murdered her sister.
Yes, because it starts in the morgue because her sister has been killed.
Yes.
That's how, and that's the domino that starts the whole thing. And you smart readers, you can go from there. You have the damaged Honor, who is gorgeous and marvelous, but a little bit iffy and risky. And then you have the dashing and secretive and rich Strike, and his name is Strike. What do you want? Because you know what's going to happen. You know what's going to happen with Strike and Honor. You're going to get Strike and Burn. And I need.
I agree.
Sue Street says, "Who needs to wear? This has been so much fun." I totally agree, Sue. You are completely right. But let's take some questions, since we have so many questions, and I love seeing that. So, Margaret, Julie? Hey, Julie, I'm glad you're here. Which character was the easiest to flesh out?
Honor? You think Honor? Yeah, Honor.
She was our anchor.
And we started in her voice.
Yeah.
And we wrote the whole book in her voice.
Yeah.
And we also, there's interstitial chapters that show her backstory.
Yeah.
which are very important to understanding who she is today. And I think understanding that backstory was an essential part of understanding her. And we nailed that pretty early. We didn't know exactly how it was going to unfold for the reader, but we understood fundamentally how her childhood had shaped her.
And was Honor the first name you chose for her?
Yes, I think so.
She just came to us.
We've been having a lot of fun with names. There's Strike and Honor, and in our next book, our male hero is Axe. And it's called Axe and Grind.
Oh, okay, I get it. Okay, next question. We'll get the next question right up here. Betty, hey Betty, says, look at that puppy. What happens when you disagree on something you're writing?
That is such a good question.
We neutralize it. We're not particularly, although I would say, I really do think that you and I do not like to get sticky with something. So we always offload it to look at again.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a single time when there was actual conflict. We've had moments where I thought we should go one way and she thought we should go another. But we're both working in service to the book, right? Yeah. And so neither of us is right necessarily. So we talk it through to figure out. I guess the way to put it is neither of us are embedded in our position, because the idea is to make the book better. And I think maybe the fact that we've both been doing this for a very long time has made it much easier for us to not feel as invested in the words we put on the page or our perspective so much as what was the best thing for the book.
Yes, I mean, obviously the key to collaboration is that you get another mind, another smart person who might be right. What if they're right? Wouldn't that be great? It's really a pleasure instead of an ego battle. And I think that
I don't think either of us thinks, oh, I'm the grand visionary of this book, and I think that's probably for the good of the book, for sure, as you said.
Sure. Of course it is. Let's take 2 more questions if we can. Hi, Elaine. Welcome. For each of you, how does the Hutton style differ from your own individual style?
Oh my God.
She's much younger.
She's much younger.
I think that's really key.
Well, I mean, we have our backlists are very varied. My most recent book before this one is a middle grade series called the Area 51 Files, which is for kids 8 to 12. And it has a girl who, goes to Area 51 and there are silly aliens and fart jokes, which is very different from this book. And then I have adult women's fiction, which is more serious. And then I have romantic YA, which contemporary romantic YA, very, very different than anything like this dark romance. And I think Adele also.
My last novel was about a long married couple's struggle to start a family.
It's
through non-traditional means. So, I mean, we really took all of these projects
and threw them out the window.
And I think Taylor was, you had said it before, we were in a place where we needed this voice, this author to be.
We need something different.
Something really different and fresh.
Yeah, we needed something that was going to excite us and interest us.
Yeah.
At a time when we felt a little dulled, I think, at the edges. It was our pickleball. It really was.
Well, or also just maybe you were brave and maybe you wanted to explore and maybe you wanted to challenge and maybe you wanted something new to conquer, which you absolutely did in Strike and Burn. I won't say conquer. One more question, Margaret. Do we have one more question? Is this going to be a series, says Katie?
Well, we so far have 2 books. The second book is a companion novel. I think that's what it's called, because it's not quite a sequel. It basically takes 2 characters from this book and explores their very interesting dark romance.
Their very interesting dark romance for the family audience who was gathered here.
You all not for children.
Sorry, what?
Not for children.
Not for children.
No, definitely not for children. But no, there are no children here. We are all grown-ups, and this is, as you say, a sexy, steamy, dark romance, Strike and Burn. I'm going to ask one more question. When you saw this cover, what did you think?
Oh,
we loved it. Loved it. And then look at the spine. It has this great match on the spine.
Yeah.
I only have the advanced copy.
I do want to say this. In the very first, there wasn't a lit match because Jason said you should have one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. When we came back with comments on it.
Adele's son.
My son, who's a young artist, and he would looked at it for so long and said, "Light one match."
Makes all the difference, doesn't it?
It really does.
Because it makes it present, not past.
Right?
If the match is all burned out, something has already happened.
Mhm.
But if the match is still lighted, then something is about to happen, right? This is in my deep understanding of art and covers. Anyway, I think Margaret, I think you had put up something else on the. Someone said, and I don't know who it was, aren't all romances dark? And on that note, we should bring up the wheel of fun and spin to see what lucky winner will win a copy of Strike and Burn. And look at all the people who are here today. You all, I love you. Thank you for coming. And the winner is Sherry Steuben. Yay, Sherry. All right. Thank you. Sherry is a wonderful veteran of Mighty Blaze, and we are always delighted when our veterans win and when our new people win, and someone wins every week. So that is why you need to be at Crime Time every Tuesday at 4 p.m. ET right here on Crime Time on A Mighty Blaze. Oh, Adele and Julie, congratulations. Happy Pub Day.
Thank you so much.
It has been just a joy to talk with you. I love your humor, and I love your companionship, and I love your joy in writing this book together. And I love Taylor Hutton too. She's a rock star. Speaking of rock stars, before we go, let me say that next week we will be interviewing Andy Pliego with You Are Fatally Invited. This is hilarious. It is hilarious, sort of pastiche of all of the tropes of Mystery World, the locked room, the stranger, the identity, the dinner party, the cruise, all those sorts of things. The mansion on the mountain that no one can get out of, the snowstorm, you name it, it is in You Are Fatally Invited. It's hilarious, and it is meant to be, and clever, clever, clever. Susie Baldwin, thank you for being here. Julie says happiest of Peb Days to you both. So next week at 4 p.m. ET, Andy Pliego's debut mystery, You Are Fatally Invited. This is a party that I don't think you want to go to, except right here on Crime Time. And we have been talking to Taylor Hutton about Strike and Burn. Congratulations, you two. Happy Pub Day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And we will see you next time, you all. Remember, until next Tuesday, it is always safe inside a book. And we'll see you next time.